Hey there and welcome back to another Disney video. And today, I want to talk a little bit about the second season of the Disney Plus show, The Mysterious Benedict Society, based on the series of books, and which debuted in October this year. And I'll be real with you, when the first season of this thing came out, I was not expecting much. Honestly, I thought it was going to be truly terrible. And so, imagine my surprise when this wacky show about a bunch of kids working for an eccentric genius to infiltrate his twin brother's school actually turned out to be really decent. I mean, more than decent. It was actually legitimately good. And so going forward, I actually had quite high hopes for the second season of the show, whilst also being a little bit apprehensive. It'd be nothing new for the show to suddenly go off a cliff in quality and produce some pretty trash tier content. It's happened so many times before. A show's first season's great, and then the second season just ain't it, leading to either a second chance with a third season of potentially dubious quality, or an immediate cancellation. But luckily enough, this season was actually really good, and in a number of ways was a major improvement over the first season. And so yeah, let's just start breaking it down, I guess. And we'll start off with the story. This season once again tells the story of our band of misfits as they come back together for the summer, initially to spend some time together and play a scavenger hunt across Europe, just for funsies I guess, until along the way, they once again get swept up into the machinations of Mr. Benedict's nefarious twin brother, Dr. L.D. Curtin. And this time, he's trying to brainwash the entire world into a permanent state of happiness, allowing him to regain the prestige and esteem that he lost after the fall of the Institute. And so, our four young heroes are forced to contend with him and his minions, whilst also striving to rescue their parents and guardians who've been abducted by the Doctor and become brainwashed themselves. Along the way, it does become clear that the brainwashing has the unexpected side effect of accidentally switching off a person's brain after a period of hypnosis, with this revelation slowly but surely turning Curtin away from his past ideology and towards working with his brother to try and fix what he'd broken. And so, by the end of the season, the twins have reunited in an uneasy alliance to work together to find their even more long-lost sister, whom Benedict hadn't even known existed. And yeah, the story itself. I actually thought it was good. I think a major weakness that season 1 had was the story itself was kind of slow. It takes a long time to set everything up and ensure that all the characters and plot points have been established properly, and thus it does drag on quite a bit. And when it finally gets going, it is a lot of fun, but still much of it's classrooms and exposition with a snail-paced main story. This season though, it's a lot punchier, a lot faster paced, rapidly going from plot point to plot point. And yes, there's still a lot of exposition and whatnot, but rather than just feeling like a bit of filler, it seems to be serving the plot, fleshing out the different characters, before rocketing you back into the action and pushing forward the narrative in new and interesting ways. The different characters have much clearer and more defined arcs that are enjoyable to watch. And somehow, the show manages to balance a quite decently sized ensemble cast, whilst fleshing them out adequately. Furthermore, there's more story threads. Different characters break off into smaller groups, each with their own storyline, which in turn helps to keep things fresh within the episodes, and then, most importantly, gives the show variety. Variety is the spice of life, and this season has it in abundance, taking the characters to new locations, keeping things fresh and engaging, as opposed to having them stand around in the same sets and same rooms, scene after scene after scene, like they did during season 1. Instead of having them all stand around within the school, they work their way through a cruise liner, through cities and the countryside, underground labs and hippie compounds, all the way to a random American-style ranch in the middle of Europe. It gives the characters fresh material to bounce off of, and so in that way, the general narrative and the setting of the second season is a marked improvement upon the first. Thematically, the show continues down that same path as the first season. A bit surrealist, a bit odd and out there, very Wes Anderson. If you know that director, I think you'll get what I mean. And I think that simply adds to its charm, and works a lot better now that they're able to get out of that school environment and apply it in various different settings. And I'd say it worked best on the cruise liner. That was probably the show's peak. But that's not all to love about this season, because, hooray hurrah, the acting has improved. On one hand, the child actors have come a long way from season 1. They still aren't all that great, but they've certainly improved a lot, and their performances are further bolstered through giving the adult characters far more screen time than they had before, which masks those moments where their performances are kind of lacking. And on top of that, it also prevents us having solid 20 to 30 minute blocks where the kids are the primary focus of the show, which is what happened last season. And ultimately, it caused a lot of the scenes to drag on and on. As these are inexperienced child actors with nobody to play off, of course it was going to be tough to watch at times. But by infusing them with various different adult characters who actors were able to largely carry and command the scene, these issues became less and less prominent, and you could look past any technical deficiency in the child actors. Plus, I think the script itself was just better. Like, it was always good for characters like Milligan or Benedict or Curtin or Number 2 or even Rhonda, but for the kids, it was always lacking something. It was like they were trying to make them seem like child geniuses, but it just didn't work. The lines, they came out expressionless and forced. But this season, I don't know, I guess the writing feels more natural in a way, like they were being written as kids. Highly intelligent kids, but kids nonetheless. And this, alongside the previous experience they've accumulated, meant their performances did improve between the seasons. Beyond that though, there really isn't all that much more to say. The cinematography was decent enough, but nothing really all that memorable. The costume and set design was fun. I'm really digging the pseudo-50s vibe the show seems to have, and honestly, beyond the main theme song, the score is ultimately quite forgettable all things considered. And I guess that's a bit of a shame. I do love a good soundtrack. But for the most part, I think this season was a massive improvement on what's already been a very good show. The first season, after all, has an 86% critical score and an 89% audience score, whilst this season has an audience score of 92% so far. And so currently, I think the world agrees. This season took what worked from the first season of Mysterious Benedict Society and improved upon the formula, whilst also taking what didn't work the first time around and tinkering with it to make the whole thing flow more smoothly. And from what I understand of the books, as of right now, they can probably eke out another 2 or so seasons if they want to follow the storylines accurately, so I'm eager to see what comes next. But with all that being said, that's the end of the video, and I would like to say that these have just been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of Mysterious Benedict Society Season 2, if you've seen it? You like it, hate it? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know.